Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Telling Tales Paizo's Adventure Paths panel. It's nice to have you here with us this Gen Con. My name is Patrick Rini. I'm a Pathfinder developer. With me, I have Jason Keeley. From left to right, I have Jason Keeley, Starfinder Development Manager. I have Ron Lundeen, who is the Pathfinder Development Manager. And I have James Jacobs, Creative Director. Thanks for being here, everybody. And yeah, we're looking forward to talking about Pathfinder and Starfinder adventure paths today. The new, the newer, and the newest. Just what's hot and what's coming. Um, the first thing I wanted to talk about, if we want to just dive right into it, is the recently announced Outlaws of Alkenstar adventure path. I think we have some pretty cool art of that to show off, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this. So some of the Pathfinder veterans out there might recognize this piece from a little module that came out a couple of years ago called Wardens of the Reborn Forge. That was our first big foray into Alkenstar, which is the city of smog, our kind of steampunk, innovative clockwork. Tech, brass, and clock tech city. So this was the illustration that went in that book of Alkenstar. So we're really excited to be going down to the street level once again, and let's check out the cover sketch of the first volume, which shows off some pretty exciting escapades going on in the neighborhood of Hellside, which is built into the kind of rocky cliff that you saw in that first illustration. So it straddles this big river which runs through the city, and it's got all these shanty little kind of streets and scaffolding and planks and buildings, built onto the side of the wall, the cliff wall here. And we have the new iconic inventor and his little robot buddy running away from a div. So it's pretty exciting stuff. That'll be for the first volume, which is called Punks in a Powder Keg. And that artist of that one is Dennis Spankov. So yeah, really looking forward to Outlaws of Alkenstar. As its name suggests, you take on the role of kind of renegade outlaws who have had your names sullied. For one way or another. The player's guide will help you establish, exactly what your background is, what you did before the adventure starts. But your basic motive and goal in this adventure path is to get revenge on the evil mogul who wronged you and who basically ruined your lives. And so you all have a shared grudge against this guy. And so you're all on the streets of Alkenstar exploring this gritty kind of steampunk city. I'm a big fan of Alkenstar. I wrote the Wardens of the Reborn Forge adventure, and really excited to be going back into it, getting a much closer look and a more in-depth look of the people, the places, the little cultures, and all sorts of stuff that's going on in there. I think it's going to be really awesome, and I'm really excited to share that with everybody.
Patrick, I didn't realize I didn't realize you had written written Wardens. I didn't never really occurred to me who wrote that ages ago. Yeah.
It was a minute ago.
Nice.
It was I think it was 2014, 13, something like that. So yeah, it was a while ago. Mm-hmm. Last time we took a in-depth look at Alkenstar, but yeah, it was kind of an unexplored region. The mana wastes, this magic dead wasteland desert between the wizard nations of Nex and Geb, and that's how it's this cradle of technology because magic doesn't function there as you think it would. I thought that was such a cool idea, and it's explored, and it offers so many opportunities for unusual adventures, right? Because magic is such an important part of Galarian and stuff like that. So what do you do if you can't rely on magic so much? You invent firearms, you invent clockwork, engines, you come up with, huge factories and stuff like that. And it's a really cool, really weird place, so yeah, it's a place great for unusual stories for sure. I think the next the next thing I think, Ron, you're going to talk about is another AP that was recently announced. Excellent. Or that you're announcing. Yeah.
Oh no, that Eric touched on this in his keynote. The adventure path that we're going to have starting in July 2022 is a 6-part adventure path called Bloodlords. We don't yet have any art for this, but I will show the cover of the Book of the Dead. It's important to show this picture because the main figure in the centerpiece there, that ghostly king sitting on the throne, is the Ghost King Geb, who rules the nation named after himself, the nation of Geb. And the Geb runs this nation of both living and undead creatures with the assistance of a group of about 60 Bloodlords. They're like the inner circle government that runs this whole nation. And there is an impossible array of intrigues and fighting between them. As you might expect, when you've got undead creatures that are helping to run the land, they have got schemes that will span centuries because they can outlive a lot of their mortal opponents or try to have long-ranging schemes against their rivals. Book of the Dead talks about how Geb is sort of administered by a series of great factions. These are like the big political organizations, and the Bloodlords sort of put them against each other in a way that is just chock full of intrigue opportunities. The 6-part Bloodlords adventure path, which takes characters from first level, where you start out doing a favor for one of the Bloodlords. Eventually, the players become Bloodlords themselves and get deeply involved in these machinations. Now, we've had some people say, well, Geb is an evil nation. Geb, the Ghost King, is an evil guy. Is this your adventure path for evil PCs? And the answer is no, but it's not the one for good PCs. That is to say, the same way some of our adventure paths have certain choices that make it just really hard to meet the conceit of the adventure path. A magic-hating barbarian is not going to do very well in the Magic School adventure path Strength of Thousands. A noble and righteous crusader who wants to put all undead down is going to be a poor choice for the Bloodlords adventure path. But people who genuinely want to help the people of Geb from something that is threatening the entire nation will find a place to fit. This is not necessarily everybody's bad guys, but you are scheming. Intrigue goes on quite a bit. And getting Geb's favor, the leader, is one of the important pieces of this. We've got a lot to do and to say about Geb. This isn't the adventure path where at the conclusion you fight Geb and you win and who's in charge of the kingdom now. No, this is a what's going on to help the people that are in the nation and to set the stage for future things that we may want to do. So this is the very heavy intrigue one. I did want to give a quick rundown. We've got the 6 parts. Let me just give you their titles because I think they're fun, and the authors, who are all proving to be very, very talented at this. Adventure 1 is Zombie Feast by Mike Kimmel. Then Graveclaw by Jason Tondro. Field of Maidens by Jenny Jerzobski. Number 4 is The Ghoul's Hunger by Leo Glass. Number 5, A Taste of Ashes by Brian Duckwitz. And then the finale of this, number 6, is Ghost King's Rage by Jessica Catalan. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Sounds like the perfect adventure path for my broody necromancer that I've been wanting to play since Wrath of the Righteous. Right, wouldn't fit there, but it'll fit in this one.
Totally, yeah, and with some of the character options that are available in Book of the Dead that we've been talking about, this is just the type of adventure for playing a living PC or an undead PC.
That's awesome. Really looking forward to that. Jason, I think you have some exciting stuff to share with us.
Yeah, let's talk about Starfinder APs. Right now, we've got the current AP is Horizons of the Vast, which the first volume came out, authored by our very own Ron Lundeen here. And I'm hoping people are enjoying that. But the second and through 6 volumes will be coming out over the coming months. We have switched over to a bi-monthly release, so it's going to be a little bit to get the rest of these volumes out, but they are a whole lot of fun. I basically sort of we're in the process of sending the last 2 to the printers in the next couple of months, and some of the art is looking really good. We can see here this particular picture by Damien Mammalidi is the ship that the PCs get to arrive on the planet of New Harmony with all of their settlement stuff sort of packed into this weird cube, and basically this is kind of a ship that is built by some of the Anasites of Abalon, who are like, the ships don't need to be aerodynamic. We're robots, but they need to be functional. This ship needs to be functional. So basically, what happens is this ship comes down and breaks into a bunch of pieces, and you basically use that to sort of start your settlement here on this new planet, and then as the adventure progresses, you're going to be unraveling all the secrets of what's going on here, why it happens to be a completely uninhabited planet when it was discovered by the Pack Worlds and the Vescarium, building up your charter there, sort of making political decisions, making infrastructure decisions, exploring the surrounding area that's sort of part of your land lease, basically, maybe coming into conflict with some people who want to encroach on your territory, maybe some other people who have come from elsewhere, from outside the planet to mess you up. But in the end, the PCs are in charge right off the bat of their settlements, and they can build new ones. And this is our Kingmaker in space, right? This is our go. Here's a bunch of hexes for you to explore. Volumes 1 and 2 kind of showcase two halves of the charter, that land that the PCs have been given. So if you've got both of them, when you can get both of them, and your PCs are feeling particularly brave, they can kind of go a little further east than maybe in the first one, but then all the other stuff happening in the first adventure is still going to be happening. We try to make this as sandboxy as possible, so there's a lot of different threads to pick up and pull on. I think at this point, we've said all of the titles of Horizons of the Vast at this point, but the next one is going to be Serpents in the Cradle, by Hilary Moon Murphy, and that one is actually going to take a little closer look at how the Aspis Consortium operates in Starfinder. So I know it's a topic some people have been interested in hearing about. We mentioned them in the core rule book and saying how they're basically this corporation that is skirting legality most of the time. And what does it mean when they have their own charter, their own sort of growing nation on this planet, and then maybe there are some other individuals who come in and do some underhanded deeds that the PCs, need to take care of. But keep an eye on that. I'm interested to hear what people think on the forums and whatnot, and let me know if how this new system, this charter system, is working out for you and your group, if you've already started it, or if you're planning to in the near future. But with that, speaking of the future, I'm going to move on to the following AP that I think Eric announced a little bit the other day, because there is a hardcover book coming out around March or April of next year, called The Drift Crisis. And this is Starfinder's big sort of like, we're gonna mess with the setting a little bit here. We're gonna say that the drift, our sort of transitive hyperspace plane, gets all messed up, and what happens, how that affects communications, how that affects travel, shipping, and that sort of stuff. It's going to change the setting in some way, for sure, and it's going to be something that your players can engage in. The hardcover book gives you a whole bunch of tools to tell many different types of stories, whether it's low level or high level, some new antagonists, plots, and that sort of thing. But we're also going to be supporting that with Starfinder Society scenarios, some maps, and as well as a couple of adventure paths. And the first one of these is called Drift Crashers. And this is basically what happens when the drift crisis occurs. You're a group of crew on a starship that gets into a fight with some pirates right at the beginning, and the drift crash happens. Basically, it's basically what the drift crisis inciting incident is. People get kicked out of the drift, but some people get kicked out of the drift, not back to the material plane, but to other planes and whatnot. So you're on a ship. This is kind of a Lost in Space kind of themed adventure path where you are in your ship. Some pirates and your ship and the pirate ship get all merged together because of all this planar nonsense, and you end up starting off in hell. Yeah, that's right. Your first level Starfinder character who gets to enjoy hell for a little bit. This first volume of the Adventure Path is gonzo bonkers, and it just continues to get more gonzo as we go along. That first volume is called The Perfect Storm. That's by Jessica Reddekob, coming out at the third. This is only a 3-volume adventure path, I should mention. The second volume is called Nightmare Scenario. It's by Jenny Jarzabski, and the third one is called Masters of Time and Space, which is of course by Ron Lundeen. We can't have a Starfinder adventure path go by without at least one volume being written by Ron Lundeen. I just get a nice little innocent look on his face if you could see him now. From there, we're going to have another adventure path that sort of helps with this first adventure path of Drift Crashers. You're not going to be solving the drift crisis. You're just going to be kind of surviving it. The adventure path that comes after that will be more of a kind of clearing up what happens with the drift crisis, some problems there. I'm not going to give you the names of that one or the volumes because we don't have them yet. But we or even just sort of a plot line. But we know it's going to be connected to the drift crisis and give your players an opportunity to help wrap it up in that sense. So the drift crisis is basically a year-long event in the setting of Starfinder that will at the end of it maybe come out with some tweaks to the setting and things like that. So we're real excited about this whole thing, and it's something different that we're trying that we hope you all love.
Doesn't sound like a crisis to me. That sounds awesome. Thanks, Jason. Yeah,
it's a crisituunity, as we like to call it.
That's right. We got thank you for mentioning the names of the volumes and the authors too. I forgot to do that earlier for Outlaws of Alkenstar. So I'll just run through those real quick, and then we'll continue on to the next talking point. But the adventures in Outlaws of Alkenstar are Punks in a Powder Keg by Vanessa Hoskins. The second one is Cradle of Quartz by Scott D. Young. And the final volume in that 3-part adventure path is called The Smoking Gun, and that's by Cole Kronwitter.
Nice.
Pretty happy with those names. They are pretty fun to come up with. The next thing we're going to do is cover some odds and ends. James, I wanted to talk to you about Kingmaker. Sounds like you might have some updates for us.
Sure. So now that we've looked deep into the future with Drift Crashers and all that, let's look in the other direction into the past. Kingmaker, one of our more popular adventure paths that we've done, is very, very, very close to having its new, expanded, updated version for 2nd edition all done. We're in the process of doing the final round of editing and changes and all that. Here we see Wayne Reynolds' cover for the adventure path, one of the several books that we're publishing in this effort. The adventure path itself is 640 pages long. Compare that to the original adventure path, which was in all, including all of its ad pages and everything like that, less than 600 pages long. So there's a lot of new information, a lot of new adventure stuff here. It was part of a big crowdfunding effort, but all of these books will be available for anyone to purchase once we're all done. It's been pretty much the only thing I was working on throughout all of last year and a large portion of this year. So it's really exciting to finally, and relieving, honestly, to get this to a point where we're about finally to ship everything out and get everything finalized and all that. So I'm really looking forward to have people enjoy it. There's a lot of content from the Owlcat video game that we adapted in here. In some cases, they adapted full characters and storylines. We've got another book in this group called The Companion Guide, which has details on how to integrate a lot of the characters that showed up in the video game, like Ekondayo or Jubilast. Characters that played roles in the computer game can now play roles in your tabletop game as companions and NPCs and all that. But there's also some brand new content as well, and I didn't want to get left out, so that there's Ron Dean content in here, of course. And there's overall, as I was looking through it, it's really set up as a sandbox, and your characters can skip entire adventures in this thing. Go left when the adventure wants them to go right, or go up when they want them to go down, or whatever. And you're still going to hit 20th level, I think. If you try to do everything in this adventure path, you're going to hit 20th level really early, and I'm pretty excited by that. That's the whole point of a sandbox, is stumbling into a part of the game environment that you're just not ready for and you have to run for your life from, or hopefully not get TPK'd. But then you go off and do something else, explore other places, get more powerful, go back and re-tackle that area that threw you out earlier, and be able to feel like you're actually becoming more powerful and more competent as adventurers. And if that means you want to do everything and get to the end and it's a cakewalk because you're super, super, super powerful, I think that's actually a attraction of the sandbox type of gameplay. It's not meant to be something that you're struggling against every single moment, and every adventure encounter is equally tough. You're going to be able to feel a point where you are actually, kings and queens of this new nation, and are rightfully among the most powerful characters in the area. So, won't always be that way. You can certainly stumble into a nest of trolls when you're first level if you go in the wrong direction. So, be forewarned. Anyway, so that'll be coming out hopefully early-ish next year, and looking forward to what people have to say about it. So that's my odds. Ron, you have some odds too, right?
Well, I think they have to be ends in order to meet Patrick's promise of both odds and ends. But yes, yes, we're taking one of the most popular second edition Pathfinder adventure paths, Abomination Vaults, and we're compiling it into a hardcover. We have a mock-up image of the cover. This isn't the final. I have to say, just yesterday, I saw the final cover image that's going to go on here, and we didn't get it in time to slot it into this talk, but oh my goodness, it is gorgeous, and I am very excited for people to see that at some later date. I mean, this is also creepy and gross and wonderful in its own gross flesh warpy kind of way, but the final picture sort of showcases, like the Kingmaker one, some of the foes you'll be going up against in a very dramatic way. We've had a couple of questions about this, and whereas with Kingmaker, it really gave the opportunity to update from first edition to second edition to incorporate the Owlcat game innovations they've made to create new content. Abomination Vaults is going to be more of just a compilation of the volumes that you've seen. Now, we're not going to take all of the 3 volumes, line them up next to each other, slap a hardcover on it, and call it good enough. We are digging into some of the places that people who played this have seen. Well, this part's problematic. This encounter is way tougher for more people than we ever expected. All right, we'll tweak it. Well, this clue didn't seem to lead to the thing that we wanted it to lead to. All right, well, now we've made that a little more clear. So we've gone in to do a lot of tweaks there. We're actually presenting it not as 3 volumes, but as one big mega dungeon. I think that does the mega dungeon feel of the Abomination Vaults right. And we're incorporating some of the back matter that is really important. The town of Otari, which is sort of your home base when you're out exploring the dungeon. Frankly, having a home base that's just a half-hour walk away means there's kind of a lot that goes on in that town that you're able to do. It's not just, okay, we go back to town, resupply, head back to the dungeon. There's some really vivid plots that interweave with what's going on in the dungeon. There are some really interesting and exciting characters there. All that credit to James Jacobs, who really brought the town of Otari and the whole first third of this adventure path to a really gripping life. But it's going to take the same 3 volumes. The work is going to, the whole hardcover, James Jacobs, Vanessa Hoskins, Stephen Radney McFarland, all the great work they did on this 3-volume adventure path and put it together. Some of the back matter that isn't directly tied to the adventure, we're not going to include. It is interesting to know about the sort of the ecology of will-o-wisps on Galarian, but not vital to this adventure path. So that's the kind of thing we're not going to include. If you want to know all the secrets of the mysterious and malevolent Nimbleoth. That's not getting included. That back matter article is going to stay in the original adventure, but certainly all of the impact that those things have on the adventure is going to be included. So it's going to be just one awesome mega dungeon 1st through 10th level campaign that you'll be able to get in hardcover form.
That sounds really cool. I'm really looking forward to that one, Ron. Yeah, because like you mentioned, it's awesome. Just the maps, how they all tie together, and those were drawn by James Jacobs, and just really one of the really cool. Yeah, it's really cool that it's getting all put together as one mega dungeon. Yeah. For the rest of the time, we're going to be answering some questions. If you have questions for us, please drop them into the official Paizo Twitch channel. We have some questions that were asked earlier that I think we're going to dive into first. So, Jason, I think the first one here might be for you.
Sure.
Yeah, the question is, so PF1 has strange aeons. Would there ever be the possibility of a fully Lovecraftian horror plotted in space Starfinder AP?
Well, we have the planet of Octurne that exists. Obviously in the Galarian solar system that we have dabbled with a little bit here and there in describing it in the pack worlds, hard to cover and so forth. But we haven't yet set any adventures on that. I think there might be some Starfinder Starfinder Society scenarios that might be set on there. But that it would be probably the place where we would think about kicking off anything Lovecraftian. We don't have any plans at the moment exactly. There might be something coming up that sort of touches on it a little bit that we can't talk about just yet. But so keep an eye out for that. But it is that it's all on our list. We have the list of APs and adventure ideas. That's always just like, what if Octurne, which we've said might be a giant egg. What if it finally hatches? What would happen there? So it's definitely on our radar, so to speak. So, yeah.
Something bad? Would it be something bad that happens?
Probably something bad. It's not. Oh no! It's a big cupcake. It was a big cupcake inside all the time.
Everyone a pinata. Octurne's a pinata.
Sweet candy. It's just candy in there. Just sweet madness-inducing candy.
We have a question on the Twitch channel from Fedora Ferret asking, how will magic classes work in Outlaws of Alkenstar? Great question, because as I mentioned earlier, place where magic doesn't always function as you might expect. We talk about this in, we mentioned more of the rule, the implications of unpredictable magic in Alkenstar and the Mana Waste in the Impossible Lands Lost Omens book, which is coming out around the same time as this. No coincidence there, but basically one of the core ideas behind every adventure path we do is allowing players to play a variety of characters. We don't want to, especially with magic, there's quite a few classes that use magic. So it would be kind of a weird AP if everyone had to be a gunslinger, a fighter, or a rogue. So basically, the way it's going to work without giving too much away is that there are certain. It's more or less up to the group to decide. There's tiers, right? It's like, do we want to be a low magic game, and here's some suggestions for how to do that, or do we want to maybe sometimes at certain. There's basically kind of like weather in Alkenstar, there's times when magic is more unpredictable during mana storms and stuff like that, and so. Might take a day off to do some crafting or something like that during one of those, but get back to the adventure when it's the weather's cleared, and then there's all the way to don't worry about it. Magic works, except for certain explicit events. Magic works as you think it does, and that's a good one for groups that might be new to the game or just don't. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Sorry about the technical difficulties. As everyone was quick to make excellent jokes in the chat, Mana Storm took out the feed, but we are back, and we were talking about adventure paths, Starfinder, Pathfinder, everything in between. Answering your questions, if you go to twitch.tv/officialpaizo and drop them in there. And yeah, let's just dive back in. Ron, let's see. You already covered this a little bit. Somebody asks, so is Bloodlords, Bloodlords Adventure Path basically the evil AP or just evil adjacent like Skull and Shackles? And you mentioned that it's not the evil AP, but it's not the good AP, right?
Yeah, it's better to think of this not as must be evil characters as would have a hard time playing good characters. I feel like if you get together with your friends, tell an awesome story about doing good deeds and sort of like making the world better, you can do so by playing neutral characters. You're going to make things better at the end, but you can if you also have just a whole group of people who like the backstabbiness and just want to be as evil as possible. This adventure path will also do you well in that regard.
Awesome. Another one for you, Ron. Someone wanted to hear if we can get a snippet of the Gazetteer in Strength of Thousands 5.
Oh, that's the Akaton, which is the our Galarian solar system equivalent of Mars. It's mostly a cold desert and red sands and tough, sort of hard life there. The Gazetteer in the back talks about generally what Akaton is like as far as its environment, its gravity, some of the effects. It talks about some of the different types of people that live there. Mostly the types. There are a type of humans that live on Akaton, but there are a lot of there are Formians that are the ant people, Akeshtis, which is sort of the Akatonian lizard folk, Yosoki, who are the Akatonian rat folk. So it talks about some of the people, and then it goes into detail about one city in particular on Akaton, the city-state of Seldo, which plays into the adventure in kind of an important way. So as not only is it emblematic of what a city on Akaton might be like, it's one that people who are playing the adventure will find immediately useful.
Why does that all sound so familiar? Have we heard of Akaton? Why does that all Akaton stuff sound so familiar to me?
And Yosoki, you know that there's like these rat people called
Akeshti.
Yeah, why?
I heard they can squirt blood out of their eyes. Can they still squirt blood out of their eyes?
Oh man, yes, can they?
Yeah,
anyone can do that if you try hard enough.
We also have a longer than usual. I will say we also have a longer than usual set of monsters in the back of that adventure, a little bit longer. That has provides a lot of different sort of creatures that you might find on Akaton. I want to give a great big shout out to James Jacobs for working so hard to help develop that. I was in kind of a bind, and like a superhero, James swooped in order to help out with that development.
Awesome. Folks in the chat keep asking. Let's see, or they ask, and I keep wanting to answer. Folks are curious about the Mammoth Lords AP, as it might be casually known, also known as Quest for the Frozen Flame, which is coming out before the Outlaws of Alkenstar adventure path, and the basic gist of the Quest for the Frozen Flame adventure path. I think Eric touched on it in his keynote, but it's kind of a love letter from me to prehistoric human species. Humanity as a species. It really speaks to a lot of my personal interest, and I really couldn't have done it without the great talent and work of the authors. One you may recognize named Ron Lundeen and Stephanie Lundeen wrote the first volume, and the second volume is written by Jessica Catalan, and the third volume is written by Jason Tondro. Really excited for this adventure path. It's as its name suggests, it's kind of you're searching for the frozen flame, as it's poetically known. It's this grand artifact that is called, its actual name is the primordial flame, and so it's the basic idea behind that is it's the a lot of Mammoth Lord cultures, revere this goddess named Sister Cinder, and she gifted the primordial flame to humans in the aftermath of Earthfall and the Age of Ashes, when the world was cast into darkness for 1,000 years and stuff like that. So after that, she was like, okay, humans need a hand here. Here's light, here's fire, and handed it over to a particular Mammoth Lord following. And it that all happened a long time ago, right? And so without getting too much into the actual events of the adventure path, there is a reason to look into that old legend, that old story of this powerful lantern that is capable of making the harsh realm of the Mammoth Lords livable. It's this brutal tundra where there's giant lizards and giant mammoths and all sorts of megafauna and dinosaurs walking around, and humans have somehow carved out their own little existence. And so it really is just a I really am passionate about the idea of non-agricultural societies, hunter-gatherers, animal migrations, the idea of humans as an animal species. What does it mean to live with the world rather than without it or apart from it? So if you're at all interested in, the realm of the Mammoth Lords, which is a region we haven't touched on a lot in previous Pathfinder products, or the Northlands at all, or big dinosaurs or big megafauna, or potentially riding a mammoth into battle, that kind of thing, this is definitely the adventure path that I think will really check a lot of boxes for you, and it's also a great entry point if you're kind of new to the setting, because there's a lot of new stuff in it that we haven't delved into this part of the world too much before. So there's a lot of opportunity for new religions and cultures and stuff like that, like Sister Cinder, which I mentioned is totally new to this adventure path. So we explore what these ideas mean to these people up there. Really, really excited for that adventure path. Hope everyone else is as well.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a question on the Twitch chat that I can probably try to answer. The biggest threat to the Starfinder universe, what is it? You could ask probably all of the people who work on Starfinder that question and get a slightly different answer. It depends on, if you're talking about if the Swarm decided to come back to the Pact Worlds and the Veskarium, that would be a huge, terrible thing that might just wipe out all the life as we know it in those two systems. You talk about the Aslanti Star Empire, who are a bunch of evil expansionists and space fascists. If they were to get some technology that would allow them to get all of their ships to Absalom Station a lot quicker, they would be a gigantic threat, of course. What's another good one? We touched a little bit on the Dominion of the Black here and there. We haven't really delved into what kind of a threat they pose, so they're kind of on the fringes, I think. But I would probably just say those two, the Swarm, and of course, the existential crisis of living amongst in a vast, uncaring galaxy is probably one of the bigger threats to the Starfinder setting. Okay.
I'll throw something
That's awesome.
in there.
Yeah.
James, please.
Not as an outside observer, not really involved too much in Starfinder, but to tie back to the earlier question about people asking about Lovecraftian influences on future Starfinder adventures, I'll point out that Nyarlathotep is one of your core deities, and who's not to say that he's not the one that's been pulling the strings on everything. That's kind of what he does. So that's my theory about Starfinder.
That's a good one. Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
I was talking with Rob about, and he wouldn't let me go forward with them, so I've tucked him away.
Well, let's talk about them now. Not now, but now.
Okay. We'll concept the next start. Man, this is going to be an AP panel where we concept the next AP among the professionals. That's
a live brainstorm. Yeah.
I need the ideas.
Arthur Trumpet asks, are there any plans for further 11 through 20 APs? So level 11 through 20, because we've mentioned a few 1st through 10th level adventure paths, Abomination Vaults, Quest for the Frozen Flame, Outlaws of Alkenstar are all 1st through 10th level. It would be, one of the strongest things, one of the things I like most about second edition is the high level play is so cool and it's exciting in its own way, right? So we'd be remiss to not explore that again. Obviously we without getting too into it, it would be foolish not to do more 11th through 20th level APs. We just kind of, and maybe Ron, you can help me out with this, but it's we choose what level ranges, whether that's a 6-part AP that spans 1st through 20th, or a 3-part AP that's 1st through 10th, or 11th through 20th. We kind of choose, that range based on the story we want to tell and what, exactly, what levels make sense for that setting, the people in that setting, the stories, that kind of thing. You think that's right?
That's absolutely right. I think the formal corporate speak answer would be, we have nothing to say about that at this time. But as you mentioned, we are very interested in making sure that the stories that we tell feel like they fit the right characters that are playing in them. And if we have something that is like the Ruby Phoenix tournament, which draws the best of the best from all over the world, absolutely an 11th through 20th level AP is the way to tell that story. We do have plenty of stories that we're thinking about, that we're kicking around, that are about it, that are that kind of way. It's like, well, what if some of the most powerful heroes around did X, or this thing happened and only the most powerful heroes around could help or stop it. Exactly.
Sorry.
the most powerful forces on the stream.
The most powerful dog around. So that is absolutely something we're interested in pursuing further in the future.
Definitely.
I have a question for Ron about Bloodlords.
Okay, go ahead.
Is there a mechanic built into the Bloodlords adventure path to handle if your character starts out as alive and then gets killed in an encounter? Can they come back undead and finish the adventure path?
Oh man, there sure ought to be. Yes. I'm not far enough along in the development of the adventure path. Right now I'm going through the very first one that's been turned over, Mike Kimmel's Zombie Feast, which is a delight in the most horrid of ways. But I want to make sure that we get sort of the finale, the final rules of how that works for characters in Book of the Dead, to say how that's going to apply. But yes, the intent is you sort of get 2 shots at going through the Bloodlords AP. If everybody's been there, you have this awesome character idea, and then they die at 4th level or whatever. You're like, shoot, now I'm going to make up another character. Now you kind of get another chance in Bloodlords if you're able to put on the right sort of archetype for your character. It's like, my necromancer, right, Patrick, you were talking about. All right, well, I fell to an errant hag spell, but now I'm a ghoul. I rise again as can keep playing that character. I suspect that the party composition at the start of the campaign may skew as a split between living and undead, but maybe by the end of the campaign, it's pretty likely you're going to have a lot of undead characters, maybe exclusively undead characters.
Can a necromancer raise themselves?
Distracted by Bigby.
Yeah, sorry, it's Bigby.
Can a necromancer cast an animate spell so powerful that he himself can come back from the dead?
Yeah.
Let's see.
There, he's
yep, everyone's the chat is full of Bigby comments.
Full of Bigby comments.
Yeah, tell us. Yeah. I can't think of any questions except about your dog, Jason.
He's gone now. Is
he a good boy? That's my question.
He is a good boy. He can be a real good boy. He can also be a real butthole sometimes. You know how dogs can be.
Mm-hmm. Let's see there. Jason, did you already address this one? I'm sorry if I've forgotten. Will there be any spoilers for Horizons of the Vast, which I hear has a cool second volume?
It does have a very
Yeah.
cool second volume. I don't want to. I mean, I guess I could spoil some stuff if you're all here for that. I could talk a little bit about what the some of the secrets of what's going on. So if you're, I tell you now, if you're about to play Horizons of the Vast and you don't want to hear any spoilers, tune out now. Okay, they're gone. Okay, let's all talk real. That's all. We're all real here, right? Now, so the thing about what I've been, I never really sort of said out loud, dancing around, is that there is a phenomenon that occurs in this system that every 100 years, where all sapient life gets wiped out because of this titanic negative energy creature that has attached itself to this wandering pulsar that orbits, basically, right? And it just sort of devours up all that good old life energy and then keeps spinning. So eventually the PCs will learn that they're not the first people to have settled the planet, and finding their ruins, some of them only even like a century ago, so they're not still technologically advanced. You find like an old laboratory, and that they're thinking, oh, something's going on with the radiation here, and then they've disappeared. You find an old, monastery, an old Solarian monastery deep underground. You find some evidence that the Atlantic Star Empire used to be on the moon. A whole bunch of stuff. You find the evidence of the swarm sort of slumbering in a nearby ice giant. Why, they managed to protect themselves from this threat, but they, then they begin waking up. So there's a lot of different threats that sort of happen, but it all culminates in the fact that you've got this massive creature, entity, that doesn't really care whether or not you live or die. Would probably prefer that you do die, but it's not going to be doing anything. But they also have cultist followers, essentially, these Dralics, which are these kind of green bulbous aliens from the Shadar Confederacy, who sort of worship. Some of them worship this sort of philosophy of entropy and negative energy. Oh, hello, Bigby doesn't. The spoilers, I know Bigby. He doesn't want me to go any further. But basically, they've discovered the fact that this thing happens, and this cycle happens, and they come back every 100 years to just kind of watch it because they're creeps. But then they start sort of getting involved because the PCs and have built a planet that maybe they could figure out a way to withstand it. So these Dralics kind of have to step in. They try to step in, but it ends up, and then in that 6th volume, there's basically a big war that happens in space. You have to raise up your fleets and go to war there. Have a nice big armada combat, and then eventually take the fight to this titanic negative energy creature. There, I've spoiled the whole dang thing. Yeah,
good job. That's awesome.
That's great.
Everyone come back now.
Can come back now. Yeah.
Hey, can I ask a question? I want to ask a question of James real quick. So I ran the original Kingmaker Adventure Path, and it's one of the most memorable campaigns I've ever run. Coming to the new Kingmaker as someone has done the last one, what's going to be the most? What do you think is going to be the most exciting thing for me? As like, I've run it before. Maybe I'm excited to run it again. I pick for a whole new group of people. I pick it up. What's it going to excite me the most about the new Kingmaker?
For you specifically, that you wrote one of the adventures, the additional adventures.
But I know that one.
For me, well, the fact that the section that Ron wrote is set under Candlemere Island, which is, we teased in the original one as being sort of a Yog-Sothoth hideout, and didn't do much more with it. And then the Alcat video game kind of touched on it a little bit, but didn't do much more with it. So that's an area that I really wanted to add more stuff in, obviously, because that's stuff I'm into. But that whole section happens when it's a 16th level adventure. It's pretty high level. I think, though, if I were to say the thing that would be most exciting is the end of the original run, where you go into the first world and fight against Narissa. That's not the end of this one. There's sort of a secret ending to the Alcat video game that if you do certain things, you unlock, and you can play a little bit beyond the canonical ending. And we've taken that sort of, used it as sort of an inspiration, but there's sort of a coda, a chapter. There's an extra chapter at the very end that I think has got some pretty outlandish fights and stuff like that going on in there. I think another thing too that if you've run Kingmaker before, that you'll get a kick out of in this one is that a lot of areas that we just didn't have room to really explore too much in the first version that have ended up being super, touchstone areas that people just always loved. One of the ones in Rob McCurry's adventure, the second adventure, Rivers Run Red, there is a sort of a provocateur type guy, Gregory, who comes from the neighboring nation of Pedax and does all this sort of shenanigans, trying to undermine you with propaganda and spreading rumors and all of that. And we had room for, I think, maybe half a page, not even a whole page, to cover all of the stuff that he was doing in your kingdom. And in the second edition version, we've managed to expand that to like 3 or 4 pages. He's got a full like NPC write-up at the back. There's all these new actions, downtime activities and stuff to go on that you can do to put him on trial or to chase him down or to fight against the propaganda. And I think that's probably the part that I had the most fun developing, was just second edition opens up so much more framework and support for stuff outside of just combat, with downtime activities and exploration activities and all of that stuff. And that's really stuff that Kingmaker wants to lean in hard on and to do, because it's all about building a kingdom, and you can't really do that on a round by round basis. So there's a lot of this is sort of a rambling answer.
I agree.
But,
second edition is really poised for that. Yeah, I agree.
I think you'd really like, Ron, is that the kingdom itself is kind of set up as a player character itself. So it's not something that you have to scrounge build points and build one piece at a time. It's going to level up along with you. So sort of inspired like how Starfinder does spaceships as their own sort of character, how Hell's Rebels has the Revolution as its own character. Your kingdom's going to gain feats and skills.
Lots of stuff. All right, we're gotta wrap up the stream here. Thank you, everybody. I'll answer one quick question. Lightning round. I forget who asks. Any new animal companions in Quest for Frozen Flame? Yes, of course. Love animals. Love animal companions. You don't just have to ride. I mean, if mammoths aren't the only cool critters that would make a great mount in the frozen norths. Awesome prehistoric stuff like saber-toothed tigers, dinosaurs, that kind of thing. If you're interested in that, definitely get into that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And the next panel will be starting soon. Stay tuned.
And we're going to the Discord.